G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. In this video today I'm going to be going over my tips for round 12 of the 2023 AFL season. The very first bye round is upon us, so there is 7 games this week. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'll be much appreciated. And let's kick it off with my tips from last week. Okay, my tips from round 11, the tips from last week, and it was probably one of my worst rounds so far this year. It was, a bit of carnage. I think a lot of people had a poor round given the amount of upsets there were. I got a 3 out of 9, and it is frustrating because there's a lot of these games I was looking at and feel like, oh, you know, I'm liking the other team in this one, and I'm feeling a bit of an upset, but just didn't back them in the end. So yeah, tip the Blues. Just felt that their forward half would finally get work in this game against an undermanned Sydney defence. But it just, you know, Carlton at the moment, their game style is in the mud really, and the Swans they played scrappy, but I just felt they wanted up more. They were stronger in the contest. They hunted in packs, and they got the job done by 26 points. Tip the Saints. Again, I was saying that I feel like the Hawks are a genuine chance in this one, and finally, with their competitive footy and their good clearance game, they've been able to reap the reward of a very good win over, still a quality opponent of the Saints, and they really should have won this game by more, given the scoring shots pretty much dominated this game. Tip the D's, and I literally said exactly this. If I don't tip Fremantle, they're going to win. If I tip them, the D's are going to win, so the pressure is on me, but I just backed in Melbourne at home. But again, Freo Deja Vu really starting to turn up now. That's 4 wins in the trot. They got the win. Tip Geelong. Look, this was a safe tip, but I genuinely said last week, I just have a feeling the Giants could pick up the upset here. They play well at this venue, and they got the win. And really, they should have won this game by more. This is actually a really good, tight affair. One of the upsets of the year. Tip the Bulldogs. Again, saying last week, I really like the Suns. I've got to start backing in opponents when I say I really like them. I'm just too scared. But yeah, the Suns, it was just a pretty heavily contested game. I felt the Suns around the ball were stronger and their clearance game was superb. And when they really mattered, they got those important clearances, converted well with their chances. Easy tip with Essendon. Then on the Sunday games, tip Port Adelaide. I backed them in. A lot of people probably would have went Richmond because of the, they're doing it for dimmer. That sort of environment, but yeah, Port Adelaide got the job done by 10 points. Easy tip with Collingwood, and yeah, look, I felt the Lions would get the job done on the road, but this is what Adelaide can do at home. They look unstoppable at times, so it was a great win from them. 3 out of 9, so a week to forget. Let's hope we can improve heading into round 12. So moving on to the tips for round 12 now. So the very first bye week. So I've got 7 games heading into the weekend. First one I got here is the Demons taking on the Blues. MCG Friday night at 7:50 p.m. Both teams are a little bit out of form. Obviously Carlton is the significant team out of form. They're in a bit of crisis. I think one of their important board members did leave throughout the week, and yeah, there's just dramas on and off the field. Paddy Cripps defending himself and his team after all the comments and whatnot. So you just think, will the Blues been able to sort of just have one of those performances where they've just been slatted in the press and the media all week long, and they turn up and deliver with a cracking Friday night display? Look, perhaps Melbourne, as of late, not really been going as good as what their ladder position suggests. They're now starting to verse a bit better quality of teams, and they haven't been able to deliver. They lost to Port Adelaide, lost to Fremantle, and I just feel like they're a bit beatable at the moment. I feel like their stoppage game's a little bit weak. Their defence was very strong on the weekend, but I think if you can just beat them at ground level, beat them in the contest, get those repeat entries, you can really win the game. And especially getting them on the turnover. And the Blues are still one of the most heavily contested teams in the competition, and they win the clearances and differentials, contested possession differentials quite well throughout the span of this season. So if the Blues are able to really smack the D's around the ball, look, I think that's a genuine chance for them to get this win here, but they're going to have to do more than just searching for Curnow McCall at the time. They've got to really sharpen their ball movement, got to look for shorter options, they've got to be proactive, because Melbourne's defence is just going to be picking everything off all night long if they're just going to bomb it long, because yeah, they're still defensively a pretty tight-knit group back there, the Demons. Melbourne really struggled with scoreboard pressure the week before, so they really need to fix those issues. Bailey Fritsch can always offer the goal or two, but they need a little bit more. Honestly, I can really see the Blues turn up for this game, just given all the stuff that's happened off the field and in the media, etc. But I did this all last week. I'll play the safe tip, but I think I will back in Melbourne heading into this game. I just still don't know about Carlton's ball movement at the moment. If they kick more accurate against Sydney, Sydney. They really could have won the game, so I think they've really just got to sharpen their ball movement heading into this game. They've got to hit the big sticks, of course, but I just think with Melbourne, they'll bounce back, I reckon. They're needing a game where they can gain a bit of confidence against a bit more credible of a side, given their last few weeks or last months or so have been against significant weak opponents. So I'll back in the Demons here, thinking they'll get the job done on Friday night footy. We'll go Melbourne to pick up the win, and they'll win by 17 points. Move on to the Saturday games now. First one, Port Adelaide taking on the Hawks at Adelaide Oval. Power got the job done obviously last week over the Tigers, and apart from their first term, they looked pretty mediocre. I felt like their ball skills were not so great, but I just think as a back six, they're defending so well. It's led by 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼, and they've got some important names back there, and given the outs as well that Port Adelaide do have, they're playing significantly well, and it's all about Butters, it's all about Rosie, it's about that new crop of players that are really starting to take control. It used to be a bit more about Boak and Dixon, but you're starting to see some more important names, even like Finlayson, of course, as well. So I just think they're role players, and everyone is doing their job. So I think they're a well-balanced side at the moment, Port Adelaide, and this game at Adelaide Oval, they're going to be hard to knock off, even against a team like the Hawks, who have been decent as of late, and they're always a team, the Hawks, that can really pepper an opposition, no matter how good or bad they are during this season, because they're a strong clearance side. Their midfield's been quite good as of late, and I really like their ball movement too, so I feel like they can damage Port or give them a real good run for their money, maybe for a quarter or two. But Port Adelaide are flying. Yes, they may be due for a poor game and maybe a loss, but considering this game's at home, I can't really see them dropping this one, so I'll stick with Port Adelaide. They're the short favourites, got to back them in. We'll go Port Adelaide to pick up a good win at home. We'll go Power by 26 points. Next game here, we've got the West Coast Eagles hosting the Magpies at Optus Stadium. Thought the Eagles were a little bit more competitive on last Saturday against the Dons. I just felt their pressure was quite decent, and they managed to put on a decent score and not give up too many points against the Bombers side. And look, I think that's just going to be the story of the Eagles this year. They're either going to play absolutely insipid, or they'll play some good patches throughout games. But yeah, against the Pies, the classic modern rivalry this one is. Collingwood are just flying at the moment. One of the best teams, or yes, pretty much the best team in the competition. Very hard to defend. Their transition's unstoppable, and they have some really good informed plays. Tom Mitchell, Jordan 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼, they're humming at the moment, the Pies. Got to back him in here. Pretty easy tip. Can't be going with the Eagles, really. The Pies to pick up a good convincing win on the road. We'll go Collingwood by 52 points. Probably one of the games of the round here, the Western Bulldogs hosting the Geelong Cats at Marvel Stadium, 7:25 p.m. Always an interesting matchup, these two teams. I feel like both teams usually turn up. The last few encounters have been close games, and it's going to be hard to choose here because, look, I still understand with the outs Geelong have. They have been playing poor with those key outs like Guthrie and Dangerfield and all that whatnot, but I think they're eventually going to have a week where things do work when they get enough output from their midfield. That's probably been their struggle a little bit. They've been failing to take full control throughout games. I thought their game last week, they just lacked a bit of mental edge and a bit of toughness, I felt, against the Giants. I feel like they should bounce back here against the Bulldogs side, coming off a loss where they were terrible with their efficiency. They had about 30 more inside 50s to the Suns, and they still lost. They were pretty pathetic when going in their forward half, so I feel like they need a reset, improve a bit of their method when going inside 50. And apart from Liam Jones, felt like from last week their defence wasn't too great on defending the transition, so that's where they really do need to watch out. Will Geelong try and take the game on? I feel like as of late they've been playing a little bit safer from time to time, so I feel like they really need to hit their transition well against the Doggies, who can have their issues when defending it. Radaglia did get a hamstring injury last week, so that does kill a bit of their intercept game in that back line. And, 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼 and Norton have been a team that's been very good in the air, the Bulldogs. So I feel like if they can hit them up well and they can have good games, I do probably expect the Bulldogs to pick up the win here because their forward half can be very damaging. It's just their defence really needs to lift here against a Cameron and Hawkins, where maybe they're due for a big game. They have been contained quite decently in the past month or so, so if they can keep them on the leash, I think the Bulldogs can win this game. So yeah, look, I think that the Cats will really turn up here, but they just haven't been very promising as of late. So I just think, given they're out of form, I'm liking the Bulldogs in their forward half. I'll go with the doggies. A bit of an unconvincing tip, really. This is probably a 50-50 game, but I'll stick with the Bulldogs, locking their forward half, and I think their midfield has been going well as of late, where that's probably been one of Geelong's weak points. We'll go with the Bulldogs to pick up the win on Saturday night, and we'll go with the doggies by, probably think it will be close. We'll go Bulldogs by 2 goals, 12 points. And for Saturday night now, we do have another nice looking matchup here. The Suns taking on the Crows at TIO Stadium. We saw from last week, the Suns were just able really to run out the Bulldogs for a full 4-quarter effort, given the heat and humidity. I felt towards the end of that game, the Doggies really struggled in the clearance game as the game wore on, and around in the coalface, probably given the heat and the sweltering conditions. So I feel like the Suns are always an advantage with these Darwin games. They seem to play well at this venue, and always they seem to just play well at home so far this year, really. They were sort of a bit fortunate, I guess you could say. They were pretty inefficient when going in their forward half. Given the inside 50s they did give up, but they were quite good in the transition. That's something I noticed really well from the Suns, and their clearance game is really good. I think it's a top 4 clearance side when it is really clicking, and against the Crows, who are a very tough and intense side, I think they can match the intensity of the Suns. The pressure was elite. Their game last week was sensational, but given it's still a bit of a raw side, Adelaide, are we going to see games like they had against the Bulldogs in Ballarat? Are we going to see off games here? I don't think we'll see it. I think they know this game is no easy walkover. This is a game we must win to keep our season alive. So I feel like they will turn up to this game. This is going to be probably a contested heavy, stoppage after affair. I do think both pretty strong midfield sides as of late. So this is a really hard one to tip. Do you go for the Crows, who are probably in a little bit more form, or do you go with the Suns, just given that it's because of the heat and all that whatnot? It could make Adelaide struggle, who aren't so great in the heat. We did see in round 1, Adelaide didn't really play too hot, pardon the pun, against the Giants in those sweltering conditions up in Sydney. The question for me with Adelaide, though, is are they able to do this away from home? They've looked a bit of the shell of themselves when they have played away from the Adelaide Oval, and given it is in those muggy conditions, the Suns play well there. They're a team that's up and about. I think go both teams anyway, but I'll just back in the Suns. They are the slight favourites, so I think this will be a 50-50 game. I'll just give the edge to the Suns, just given their clearance game is very good, and then they're matching up a good brand of footy as of late against some good teams. So this will be close. We'll go Suns in a close one, and they'll pick it up and win by 8 points. And for the Sunday games, first game we've got here is the Giants taking on the Richmond Tigers at Giants Stadium. JDOD, a much deserved win it was last week. I feel like it's similar to Hawthorn. Their effort and their intent has been very good, but it always costs them with a few skill errors and whatnot, and a few defensive lapses from time to time that have made them cost games over the span of the season. But they finally got the job done. They just wanted that game more. I felt they were really strong in the stoppage and around the ball. So given this is against the Tigers, who can struggle in some of those areas sometimes, I feel like I do like the Giants heading into this tip. But the Tigers did play a better brand on the weekend. I thought their transition was a little bit better. They were sort of inaccurate, but for probably that second half, I felt like they were genuinely probably the better side. So I think they head up into Sydney here with some high hopes under that new coach. But it's just a matter of what Richmond are we going to get? Are we going to get a Richmond that gets their game plan keep clicking? Or are we going to see another Richmond performance where they're just terribly inefficient and they can't hit the scoreboard well? So I like the Giants here. I think they should be winning this game given it's at home, but I'll go the Tigers. I've just got good faith they can head up interstate to this game and pick up a much needed one. If their midfield can really get humming and they just get their ball use working and they're strong off the turnover, and that's somewhere where the Giants haven't been too strong with defending in their own half, and they can turn the ball over here or there. They're in form though, the Giants, but I'm back in the Tigers. I think they'll pick up a much needed win here to get back in the winner's circle. I'll go Richmond, and I think they'll get their brand working very nicely. Tigers to pick up a win by 13 points. And for the final game here of the round, we've got the Bombers hosting the North Melbourne Kangaroos at Marvel Stadium. I feel like the Kangas have actually been starting to play a bit better of a brand given their last few losses in a row, very unlucky against Sydney. And for a number of periods in that game against the Pies, I felt like they did play a decent brand of footy. Their clearance game's been decent as of late. I think around the ball they've been okay too, but you're always going to get those lapses where they have a few shocking defending moments, and you just can't back them. I don't think the Kangaroos against the Don side, who are really starting perch up the ladder up as of late. I feel like their pressure's been very good. They've started to just be mentally a better side, and we're starting to see a bit more class from a few players. Langford's been in great form. Stringer and Nick Martin too. Zach Merritt, of course, as well. They're just starting to build really nicely as a club, the Dons. And look, do North steal this game from them? Look, perhaps, but I just can't see in the moment. I think Essendon have been travelling really nicely. They've been playing a really good brand no matter who they play against. So as long as they're not complacent and they don't play a weak style of footy, which they haven't been at all really this year, I think the Dons win this game. So we'll go Essendon to pick up the win to close out round 12, and they'll win by 31 points. So overall, there were my tips for round 12 of the 2023 AFL season. So a 7-game round. So hopefully I can go better than 3 tips correct from last week. If you wanted to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. That'll be much appreciated. And feel free to let me know what you think of my tips and comment down your tips below too. Love to hear every one of your people's thoughts. Once again, everyone, that is the end of today's video. And until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.